I always believed my family was different, calm, structured, above drama. My name is Emma, I'm 19, and for the most part, I grew up in what people would call a put-together household. My father, David, was the blueprint of discipline, stern, consistent, successful. He never raised his voice, but his silence could fill a room like smoke. He was the kind of man who believed emotions were distractions. And then there was Carla, my stepmom. Carla came into our lives when I was 13, barely 3 years after my real mom died. She was everything my mother wasn't: young, vibrant, polished. She had this way of lighting up a room and making you feel like you were the only one in it. For a while, I thought maybe that's what we needed. A little light, a little laughter. But even as a teenager, I could tell something about her didn't add up. She was too perfect, too curated. Her laughter always felt a second too late, like she was watching someone else laugh and mimicking them. She made the best pancakes, remembered every holiday, but never once forgot to remind you of what she'd done for you. She loved the performance of motherhood, but not the burden. Still, I kept my doubts to myself. My dad seemed happy. He smiled more. He didn't snap at small things the way he used to. And after years of quiet grief, who was I to take that away from him? But time has a funny way of peeling back the layers you try so hard to believe in. It started with small things. Unreturned calls when Carla was supposedly at the store, late-night giggles from the living room when I knew Dad was already in bed. One night, I came downstairs for water and saw Carla on the phone. Her voice was low, intimate, with a smile tucked into her tone. When she noticed me, she flinched, quickly ending the call and pretending it was nothing. I didn't say anything, but I didn't forget. Around that same time, I reconnected with an old family presence, Uncle Rick, my dad's younger brother. He'd always been the black sheep, the one who spoke his mind too freely. One afternoon, as we shared coffee in our backyard, he leaned in and said something that lodged itself deep into my chest. "Carla's not who she pretends to be," he whispered. "Watch her closely. You'll see it too." And I did. I began to notice how Carla lingered near Dad's colleagues during dinner parties. How she wore perfume when she said she was just running errands. How her compliments to men were laced with something heavier than kindness. I wanted to believe I was imagining it, that maybe grief had just warped my ability to trust. But that theory shattered the night I caught her texting someone named Jaden. The way she smiled at the screen. The way she bit her lip before quickly locking her phone. That's when the idea struck me. It was meant to be a joke at first, a petty way to test my suspicions. My boyfriend, Liam, and I were lying on my bed, scrolling through videos, when I vented about Carla's suspicious behavior. "She flirts with anything that has a pulse," I muttered. Liam smirked, half joking. "Why not catfish her? Make a fake profile. See if she bites." We laughed. But that laugh didn't last long. The idea burrowed deep. It wasn't funny anymore. It felt like the only way to confirm what I already feared. The next morning, I created a fake social profile. I used Liam's pictures, but edited slightly to obscure the resemblance. I crafted a new identity, a charming entrepreneur named Ethan, recently relocated, adventurous, single, well-spoken. I sent Carla a friend request. She accepted within the hour. It was terrifying how fast she responded. Her first message was playful, flirty. She thanked Ethan for the ad and complimented his smile. I kept the conversation vague at first. She kept it spicy. By the third message, she was asking what part of town he lived in. Within 2 days, she was telling Ethan how her marriage lacked excitement, how her husband was kind but emotionally distant, how sometimes she just wanted to feel seen. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This was the woman who hosted Sunday brunch, who called me sweetheart and helped me pick dresses for college events. She was selling herself for attention. And worse, she was doing it with alarming ease. But I didn't stop there. I wanted proof. Real, undeniable proof. So, I suggested a meetup. Somewhere public. Somewhere I could observe. She agreed. No hesitation. Just a simple, tell me when and where. I stared at that message for hours. My stomach churned. Not with guilt, but something more complex. I wasn't just exposing her. I was breaking the illusion I had convinced myself to believe in for years. I wasn't sure what scared me more, what I would find, or how my dad would react if he knew. When I told Liam, he was stunned silent. "You really did it?" he asked, half impressed, half afraid. "I had to," I said. "I need to know who she is. Who they are." Because deep down, something was beginning to shift in me. This wasn't just about Carla anymore. It was about the shadows that lived behind every polite smile in our home. The quiet secrets tucked behind locked phones and long silences. I thought I was in control. I thought I was playing a game only I could win. But as the meetup day crept closer, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had opened a door I wasn't meant to touch. And whatever was waiting behind it wasn't just about Carla. The day of the meetup arrived with an eerie calm, the kind that hangs just before a storm. Carla had agreed to meet Ethan, the fake persona I'd created, at a downtown cafe, the kind with soft lighting, overpriced tea, and floor-to-ceiling windows. I chose the location carefully. Public, discreet, perfect for watching from across the street without drawing attention. Liam offered to come with me. Part of me wanted to decline. This was my mess, after all. But deep down, I didn't want to face whatever truth lay ahead alone. We arrived early, choosing a shaded corner at a boba shop directly across from the cafe. From our angle, we had a clear view of the entire patio. I could feel my heart beating in my ears. "She's really gonna show," Liam said, almost in disbelief. "She always shows," I muttered, eyes fixed on the entrance. At exactly 2:04 p.m., Carla arrived. She wore a tight cream-colored blouse tucked into high-waisted jeans, her hair curled into effortless waves. Her eyes scanned the patio eagerly, like she was auditioning for a role she was born to play. She ordered a drink and took a seat by the window, back straight, lips glossed. I recognized that posture, that look. It wasn't casual. It was curated. "She's not nervous," I whispered. "She's excited." Liam didn't respond. I could feel the discomfort radiating off him. We weren't just observers anymore. We were participants in something real, something raw and reckless. I watched Carla check her phone, probably rereading messages I had written, words I typed while pretending to be someone who wanted her. She glanced up every few minutes, searching for a face that didn't exist. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. She texted Ethan. "Still coming?" I didn't reply. I wanted her to sit with the consequences of her choice. I wanted her to question why she was even there. I wanted to see if guilt would find her face. But then, something happened I hadn't planned for. From the corner of my eye, I saw someone familiar approaching the cafe. My heart stopped. It was my father, David. He wasn't supposed to be here. He was supposed to be at his office across town, according to the shared calendar I had peeked at that morning. Yet there he was, wearing his usual slate gray suit, tie slightly loosened, walking with intention. At first, I thought he had followed Carla. Maybe he suspected something, too. Maybe this whole thing was about to explode in public. But then he walked right past her. And into the cafe. Carla never even saw him. She was too busy checking her phone again. Liam turned to me. "What the hell is your dad doing here?" I couldn't speak. My mouth had gone dry. I watched, frozen, as my father approached a woman already seated inside. She stood to greet him with a hug, not Carla. Someone younger. Stylish. They sat at a table near the back. He smiled. A real smile. The kind I hadn't seen on his face in years. I felt my stomach twist. No, no, no. My father wasn't following Carla. He was there to meet someone else. I'd set a trap for Carla, but I'd caught something else entirely. Liam looked at me, trying to make sense of what we were witnessing. "Your dad is on a date?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. I kept watching as my father leaned in, whispering something that made the woman laugh. His posture was relaxed, his eyes warm. It was the same posture he once saved for Sunday mornings with my mom. The version of him I thought had died with her. It all started to make sense. The late nights, the distant stares, the business trips that suddenly extended without explanation. My father was having an affair, too. I looked back at Carla. She was still sitting alone, now visibly annoyed, checking her phone every 30 seconds. She sent another message. If this is a joke, it's not funny. Oh, the irony. I sat back in my chair, stunned. The betrayal I thought I was exposing was just the tip of something far darker. My family wasn't broken. It was rotten. Liam leaned forward. Emma, what do we do? I don't know, I whispered. What could I say? That my little trick, my petty catfish game, had unearthed a hidden world neither of us were ready to face? That both the adults I relied on were living double lives while pretending to love and protect me? I stared through the window as Carla gathered her purse and stormed off, typing furiously into her phone. My father stayed seated for another 30 minutes, completely unaware of how close he'd come to colliding with his wife. When he finally stood to leave, I noticed his hand graze the woman's lower back, a small, intimate gesture. They didn't kiss, but they didn't have to. That single touch said everything. Liam and I didn't speak the entire drive home. My mind was spiraling, torn between fury and disbelief. I had exposed Carla's betrayal. But now, I had to live with the knowledge that my own father, my steady, reliable father, was no better. What's worse? The person you suspect, or the one you never even question. That night, I lay awake in my room, replaying every memory of the past year. The late nights, the awkward silences, the dinners where both of them sat with their phones just out of reach. How long had this been going on? Had they both just given up? And if they had, what did that say about me? Was I just another illusion they maintained to keep up appearances? The trick I set wasn't just a prank. It was a mirror. And now that mirror had cracked wide open, showing me who my parents really were beneath the polished facade. I closed my eyes, but sleep wouldn't come. I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't done yet. The morning after the cafe incident, the world felt quieter than usual. Like even the sun didn't want to rise on the truth I had uncovered. I avoided both of them, Carla and Dad. I didn't trust myself not to explode. My brain kept replaying the scene. Carla dressed like she was going on a first date, and my dad already on one, with someone who wasn't her. The irony made my skin crawl. They weren't just cheating. They were strangers living in the same house, playing roles they clearly didn't believe in anymore. Still, something in me itched to speak. Not out of guilt. Out of necessity. I needed to know why. By evening, I made a decision. I would talk to my dad. Alone. If I could get him to open up, even partially, I might understand where it all went wrong. He was in the garage, as usual. It was his safe haven, filled with old tools, sawdust, and the smell of motor oil. He looked surprised when I walked in, even more so when I sat across from him without saying a word. "You all right?" he asked, wiping his hands on a rag. I studied him. He still had that quiet confidence, that perfectly trimmed beard, that calm way of folding his arms like nothing could shake him. But now I knew better. I had seen what lived beneath that armor. "I saw you yesterday," I said finally. His eyebrows knit together. "Yesterday? At the cafe. With her." There was no confusion on his face after that. Only stillness. Then came the sigh. The kind that sounds like something's been waiting too long to be said. "Guess you were bound to find out sooner or later," he murmured. My chest tightened. So it's true. He didn't deny it. He didn't even flinch. "How long?" I asked, my voice quieter than I expected. "Almost 6 months," he admitted, staring at the floor. "It started out innocent. Just conversations. But eventually," his words trailed off, like he was hoping I'd fill in the blanks. I didn't. I let the silence stretch. "Does Carla know?" I asked. He shook his head. "No." And I'd appreciate it if it stayed that way for now. That hit me harder than I thought it would. He wasn't ashamed. He was strategic. This wasn't a man caught in guilt. It was a man managing a secret. Why? I demanded. Why cheat? Why lie? Why not just end things? His answer came slow, deliberate. Because sometimes, ending things feels harder than pretending they're still working, especially when you've built a life around the lie. That was the moment I realized I wasn't going to get an apology. I was going to get rationale. Cold, logical justification. My dad didn't see what he did as betrayal. He saw it as survival. I stood to leave, but his voice stopped me. Emma, I'm still your father. That hasn't changed. I turned to him, heart pounding. But it has changed. You're not who I thought you were. Neither is she. He didn't argue. I went back to my room and locked the door behind me. And for the first time, since this all began, I cried. Not because I missed the family we used to be, but because I realized that version of us never really existed. We were just actors reading from a script, one I didn't write but was expected to follow. And yet, despite it all, one part of this puzzle still nagged at me.
Carla.
She had shown up to that fake date like she was hunting for something she lost. Not lust, not love, something deeper. Desperation. Maybe even validation. I needed to know what her story was, what had led her into the arms of a man who didn't exist. So, I set up one last conversation. This time, with her. We met in the kitchen. Neutral ground. She was sipping wine, her phone beside her, acting like everything was perfectly normal. I want to talk, I said bluntly. She glanced up. About?
You. Me. Dad.
The fake guy you almost met yesterday. Her grip on the glass tightened. What are you talking about? I leaned against the counter.
Ethan.
The man you've been messaging for 2 weeks? That was me. I created him. I wanted to see if you'd cheat. Her face drained of color. You what? I catfished you. And you fell for it. Fast. The silence between us thickened like fog. Carla set her glass down, carefully, deliberately, as if shattering it would confirm everything I accused her of. I can explain, she whispered. No need, I snapped. You've already explained enough in your messages. The late-night texting, the flirty jokes, the plan to meet. Her voice cracked. I wasn't going to do anything. You were already doing it, I shot back. And you know what's worse?
So was Dad.
I saw him, at the same cafe, with someone else. She froze. Her lip trembled. He what? I nodded. Yeah. While you were waiting for a man who didn't exist, your husband was already cheating. With someone real. For once, Carla didn't have a comeback. No sarcasm. No charm. Just raw, open disbelief. She sat down at the table, her fingers shaking. I didn't know, she whispered. Neither did I said. And then something happened I never expected. She started crying. Not the dramatic kind. Not the manipulative tears she usually summoned during arguments. These were quiet, broken sobs. The kind that come from someone who's been holding in disappointment for years. I thought I could fix it, she said between tears. I thought if I tried hard enough, if I kept the house clean, kept him happy, stayed young and beautiful, he'd notice. He never did. For a brief moment I saw her. Not the curated stepmom. Not the flirt. Just a woman. Lonely, tired, aching for connection. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. She looked at me, eyes swollen. You hate me now, don't you? I didn't answer. But the truth was, I didn't. Not completely. What I felt was more complicated than hate. It was a tangled mix of sadness, understanding, and a deep-rooted disappointment that both of them had let things rot instead of repair. That night, the house was silent. Dinner wasn't cooked. TV wasn't on. Nobody played pretend anymore. And somehow, that felt more honest than anything we'd done in years. I lay in bed, eyes open, staring at the ceiling, knowing I had unearthed something irreversible. But in that wreckage, I also found something rare. The truth. And now I had to decide what to do with it.